As I promised, the next video was going to be showing you how to create a house. And you remember we created this property called Upeosoft Heights that is in Kejeka, and I went ahead and saved it. And now here you see we have a section that showed up here for houses and for add, or rather bulk add houses. So I'm coming here, but let me first of all talk about this one. Bulk add houses is the one that gives you the capability to add more than one house at a go, and the reason for that is a situation where you have one property that has, say, something like even 100 houses, and you see 100 houses are literally few. If you go, for example, for those properties that have rental stores, you'll find some properties with as many as even 1,000 units. So can you imagine adding one by one here 1,000 units? And this is what many property management systems don't think about. So we added this functionality where you can add multiple units at once. And what this does is when you create this, for example, if I click here, let me close this. If I click here, we have the property, we have the house type, which is going to be probably 1 bedroom. Why am I saying 1 bedroom? You will use the property type here which has the majority of houses. So there could be others that are not 1 bedrooms, so you're going to create those separately. But for those that are a majority, you can create them like this. And if you have, let's say, 51 bedrooms, you can just do 51 bedrooms, then here add 50. I'm just going to add 5 for now, and say the rent is 20,000. Yeah, so we have Upeosoft Heights, 1 bedrooms, 50 of them, 5 of them, and this one. If you have 2 bedrooms, so if the moment I click that, that will create for me 5 houses in that property. So if I go here now, you see here we have 5. Initially it was nothing. So if I open it, you see there is 5 1 bedrooms with the same amount of rent. The next thing is, if you have other multiples, you can just go ahead and add them in a similar way. Now, you remember when we said this house, we had this section here where we said garbage is different for each house, service different for each house, and electricity token. I would like to show you something here. So if I wanted to add one house, let me just refresh this one. If I wanted to add one house here, there's something I would like to show you in the house section. If I click on add, you see here we have house number, we have house type, which is ideally 1, 2, 3 bedrooms or even a store. We have the amount of rent, we have the house name. If you want the house name to be different from the house number, you can have it there. You can see this is not a required field. And then here we have accepting multiple tenants. Again, I'm going to explain to you what accepting multiple tenants is. I'm going to skip it for now. And then here we have garbage charge and service charge. You notice that these ones are showing up here because we set in the property that we want it to be different for each house. That is why they are here in the house level. Same case to electricity. If I come to electricity here and say I want to charge per meter, and then I save, and then I go back to this property, click on this, you see electricity meter has shown up here. So electricity meter has shown up because I set in the property that I want this to be different for each house. If, for example, I remove garbage from the property level, I want to show you this so that when you are setting them up, you are very careful setting these things up. Different for each house. If I say, for example, this is not charged, that is the garbage, and I save. Now if I go to the house and I want to create a house, garbage is not going to be one of the things that show up. So that is how integrated we have made the system, and therefore all these things are going to be captured as you are creating your property. Also, notice that here we have deposits. Remember, when you notice that there's nothing here now, I'm going to explain that. Notice that when we were creating the property, we added these 3 deposits: house security deposit, electricity deposit, and water deposit. Yeah, and I told you that there is no amounts here because we are going to set them at the house level. How do we do that? Let me take you back, and we create a house and call it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and maybe the house type is a 2-bedroom house, and maybe the rent here is 5,000, something like that. And then here we say multiple tenants. No service charge, we can say is 1,000. Electricity meter, we can say it's maybe something like that. Yeah, and then we save. When we save, go to deposit, we still don't have something. But when we refresh this, because we are not refreshed, you see that in the deposits now, the 3 deposits that we set up in the property have been fetched here. So every time you are creating a property, the deposits that are there are going to be brought here, and now you can add these respective amounts, remember, at the house level. So that is how we are treating this. And the other thing that I wanted to show you is this accepting multiple tenants. You notice that this is where we add tenants. And what accept multiple tenants does, you see currently by default is no. If I say yes, the system will ask me, how many tenants can this house contain? I can say maybe something like 2. Yeah. And what this thing means here is you will find a situation where more than 1 people are living in a house. I don't mean man and wife, or man and children, or wife and children. What I mean is, for example, in the case of the hostels. In the hostels, you find that there are 2 people, 3 people, 4 people, or even more living in one house, and every person pays their own rent. So you see, I said it's not the case of man and wife, because when the man and wife live in the house, each of them does not pay their own rent. I mean, the agent expects one rent from both of them. But if it's a hostel, then there is 4 people living inside. Those people probably they don't even know each other. Maybe they are going to know each other as they stay there. So the agent will be expecting each and every one of them to pay rent separately. And that is why we have this capability here. Accept multiple tenants. Because the moment this one is no, then the moment this one is taken and you have a tenant here, then this status is going to change to occupied. If accept multiple tenants is set to yes, and then here you have, for example, let's say 2 tenants. If you add 1 tenant here, this status is going to change to partially occupied. And then when you add another tenant, so that there are 2 tenants, this status is going to change to occupied, and the system will not add another tenant here. If it is no, then you can just only add 1 tenant here. This status will change to occupied, and you cannot add a second tenant. So that is why this function is very important. I would like to stop that video there. If you have any questions, of course, as usual, I will leave my contact information in the description section of this video. Feel free to reach out to me for a demo. For any questions you have, we are more than happy to assist. We are more than happy to collaborate to do business together. Bye bye.